Work with people from over 80 different countries.
And I was skeptical at first. I was kind of like, okay, are you sure about this?
I was always chasing stocks. I would always chase the next top thing and never had an opportunity to get any profit from it.
I've helped people with trading accounts that are just a few dollars, and I've helped people with trading accounts that are over $1 million.
These courses give me a much wider perspective on what is really possible.
And what Jeremy does so well is that he breaks it down in a simple form so it's easy to understand.
They're just regular folks, and if I can teach them, I can teach you.
I didn't want to let someone else tell me what the play was, and I just followed their lead. I wanted to learn it for myself.
My greatest joy is when somebody that I have taught over the last decade, they reach out and they say something like, you won't believe it, but I actually have people that are asking me to teach them how to trade. Is that okay? You think I can teach them?
Working with you taught me that, stocks go through ups and downs pretty regularly and pretty predictable.
The portion that my husband has now been able to take over and own has outperformed the market and is doing better than the rest of our retirement. It is totally life-changing.
Just to think that I touched people, I taught them to do something, I influenced a generation of traders, and now they're taking it forward and they're influencing the next.
At the end of the trade, I ended up making 140%.
It just gives me so much delight and joy knowing that I can still do something with my financial future.
This is not something that's only for other people. I can actually become financially independent.
Not only allow me to make better trades, more lucrative trades, but have more confidence while I trade.
This Trade Maestro membership is excellent because it's got something for everyone. If you're just starting out, or even if you've been trading for a while, you'll find something you like. You need to get enrolled right now. It's affordable, it's comprehensive, and it's risk-free because you can cancel anytime if you decide you don't like it. So if you want to learn to trade the stock market, or if you're looking to take your trading to the next level, you need to get enrolled as a Trade Maestro member right now. The following presentation is for educational purposes only. All examples and analysis are intended for these purposes and should not be considered as specific investment or trading advice. All examples are for the purposes of teaching and are not intended to suggest future results. The risk of loss in trading securities, options, futures, forex, and cryptocurrencies can be substantial. Individuals must consider all relevant risk factors, including their own personal financial situation, before trading. Options, futures, and forex are considered more sophisticated investment vehicles due to high leverage and are not suitable for all investors. Welcome, everybody, to Building Blockchains, our very first debut episode. And, of course, we messed it up right at the very beginning. So I don't know how many people we lost. We had a bunch of people that were sitting here waiting, and YouTube and Rumble were not syncing. And I tried all this last night. This is what you get when you produce your own show. I tried everything last night, had everything ready to go. And, of course, here we are. Anyway, some of you found your way in here, and I'm sure a lot more will be joining. So welcome to all of you. It's exciting to be here. I think this is the beginning of something really, really fun. I've been wanting to do this show for a long time, and it's finally here. In fact, we've been wanting to do it all week, and we thought we were going to launch yesterday and ended up launching it today. So welcome to all of you. This is technically my show, but it's about you, because what we're going to be talking about is making blockchain and cryptocurrency something that's more accessible to the broad market. Why do we talk about crypto? Why do we talk about blockchain? And why are we doing it now? Because this is one of the biggest technologies in the history of the world. If you look at the way technology has grown over the years, the way the internet took adoption, the internet itself, email, was actually developed in the late 1970s, but it wasn't until 1995 when America Online, decided they were going to do their carpet bombing marketing, and everybody became aware of the internet between 1995 and 1996. It was about an 18-month campaign where they took it mainstream. They took it into a momentum phase. And from that point forward, it was a small window of about 5 years, and then everybody had the internet. And that was the fastest growing technology in the history of the world until blockchain. And blockchain, as of just a couple years ago, had already far outpaced the internet in terms of adoption, in terms of usability, and in terms of where it was going. And, here we are, it's the end of 2025, and I still think we're at the beginning of the curve. That's the crazy thing. I still think we're early in the adoption of blockchain and cryptocurrency. And I'd like to say this is the fastest and greatest technology in the history of the planet, but guess what happened just a couple years ago? You've all experienced it, AI. And now AI and the adoption of AI has gone faster than any technology in the history of the world. So what could come next? Well, quantum computing is right around the corner. So I don't know where we are. I'm not sure how long it's going to be, but I can tell you right now, as far as blockchain and crypto is concerned, right now, there are over 600 million crypto trading accounts on the planet. 600 million. Now, to put that in perspective, there's only about 100 million U.S. stock equity trading accounts in the United States, okay? So when you look at cryptocurrency, there's already 6 times more people that have exposure to crypto than there are people that have exposure to stocks and equity. And yet, when you look at those 600 million people and all the stuff that I've done over the last 15 years, what I have found is this is one of the least educated groups of investors in probably world history. So it's fast adoption, incredible use case, incredible everything about it, and yet the education around it, there's more lack of understanding, just a general, all of it. Just we got to educate around it. And so that's what the intention of this program, Building Blockchains, is about. And so as the name suggests, it's the building blocks, but we're building blockchains because we're understanding crypto. So there you go. To give you an idea of where we're going, where cryptocurrency is going, I just quoted a statistic, 600 million crypto trading accounts in the world. They are projecting by 2030, so in less than 4 years, we will be double that. And we'll be sitting at over 1 billion, which means roughly 1 in every 7 people on planet Earth will have exposure to crypto. I actually think it's going to go faster because what we have not seen yet is we've not seen the takeover of crypto in the sense of it's worked its way into everyday life of finance. And I'm not going to get into all the cycles and stuff on that, but I can tell you over the next 5 to 6 years, what we will start to see is we'll start to see daily payment structures coming through crypto. We'll start to see all the banking stuff coming through crypto. And as I lay the argument over the next several weeks and months, and you start to watch the show and see what's all evolving, what you're going to learn is our entire banking system is going to be moving over to blockchain. I actually think the argument can be made right now, but certainly 5 years from now, certainly 10 years from now, I don't think we're going to need the SEC. I don't think we're going to need the regulators the way that we have them right now. We're not going to need centralized exchanges like the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ like we have right now. All of that is transforming because of this miraculous technology that we call blockchain and crypto. And so welcome to the show. Welcome to this. I've got about 8 of you watching right now, at least on Rumble. I don't know what we've got over on YouTube. I kind of got screens everywhere today. I'm still kind of getting my whole thing worked out. But you know what they say, when you start something new, this is the worst it's ever going to be. So I appreciate all of you being here, and we're going to get a lot more people that watch the replays, and we'll get this thing dialed in, and we'll get it so we can share comments and all that stuff. And what I'd love to see is a community built around this. If you guys don't know me, my name is Jeremy Whaley. I'm the founder of a trading company called Trade Maestro. We teach people how to trade stocks and options and now crypto. We've been doing this. I've been teaching trading now for 16 years. We started getting into crypto about 1.5 years ago from a teaching standpoint. I personally got involved in 2017. That was when I bought my first XRP, and that was my first cryptocurrency that I got involved with. So here's what our agenda is going to be, and I want y'all's feedback, especially the handful of you that know me already. I'm really excited to get your feedback on the show format. My plan is I want to do a little bit of market analysis every day. And we're going to do that right now. And then we're going to move into some news headlines and some stories. And then every day I'm going to give you guys some core teaching. And one of the ways that you can really help me and we can really build the community, besides just commenting and being here, is to give me feedback on areas where you're struggling. If you've got topics that you want to talk about, you're like, hey, I really am struggling with this. Or I've got people in my community and they're struggling with this, and I really want to get some information about that. Well, share it with me. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to, systematically just build more and more training and episodes around that. And then as we get more people here, we'll get guests on. And I think it's going to be an excellent and a fun adventure. So the plan is be here every day, 1 o'clock Nashville time. I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. So that's 1 o'clock Central Time. It's 2 o'clock if you're in the East Coast. If you go the other direction, it's noon in the mountains, 11 o'clock on the West Coast. It's right there in the lunch hour. And I know all of y'all are retired anyway. None of y'all are at work. You're sitting at home watching Rumble. You should be seeing my screen as of right now. You are looking at the chart of Bitcoin. And when you look at this, how many of you look at that and you think to yourself, I have no idea what that is doing? It just looks like it's just, little red and green blotches going up and down. This is a chart. And as we build the conversation around educating the world, but, you guys specifically, as we build this argument around what does it take to become a really educated crypto trader? What does it take to become really educated in this new financial world? You got to realize that the way people have been approaching cryptocurrency has been completely wrong. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the number one mistake that people make when they approach the world of crypto. And I hope by the time we're done with this first episode, I hope you guys have a new appreciation for, wow, this is a lot more than what I thought it was. Most people right now are thinking that cryptocurrency is just this alternative to currency. And they think that, it's a unique technology and it's kind of there. This is a game changer. I started off, I said this is bigger than the internet. And it is bigger than the internet. But it took me a long time to understand it. And I'm 48 years old. And what I find, most of my clients are baby boomers. They're 55, 60 and older. And the older we get, the harder we seem to have adopting and understanding what cryptocurrency and what blockchain really is. I have young kids. My 15-year-old, I built, you guys don't know this yet, but I built my own cryptocurrency. It's called the Trade Maestro coin. And I'll be giving some away. Not today, but I'll be giving some away. But as I was building that and I shared some of the ideas with my 15-year-old, and I was like, hey, look at this stuff I figured out. This is so cool. I'm a middle-aged old man at this point, and I'm all excited about it. And I share it with my 15-year-old. I was like, yeah, so? Like, of course. Like, they get it. What we as older people don't necessarily get, what Gen X and baby boomers don't get, is when you get, the millennials are kind of in the middle, but you get down to the Gen Z and these new Gen Alpha kids, they understand what's happening with crypto and DeFi in an intuitive way that we have never comprehended before. So part of my agenda is to help you guys understand when you look at something like Bitcoin, which you're looking at right now, there is a lot more going on here than simply buy and hold. If you just buy and hold, or in crypto, we call it HODL, H-O-D-L, hold on for dear life. If you just buy and HODL, you've actually missed the boat. And you've missed the most important thing. So we're going to do chart analysis every day. I'll be teaching more of it as we get into it. But today I want to start in with Bitcoin. This is the big one, the big story right now. Bitcoin's crashing. If you can see, maybe hard to see over on the right side. Bitcoin's down 1,900 points right now, which people are freaking out about. Should they? Well, we're going to talk about that. Is it really a bad situation, what's happening right now with Bitcoin? Well, I want to draw your attention to a couple of things. First and foremost, I want you to recognize that up is not good and down is not bad. I teach this to everybody. Up does not mean it's good. Down does not mean it's bad. Just because an asset goes up or just because it goes down, it does not mean anything. What it means is it means it went up or it went down. That's it. That's the meaning you need to assign it. Now, what our pop culture has taught us is if a stock goes up, it's great. And if a stock goes down, it's bad. And what that creates is it creates emotion. One of the segments we're going to look at today, we're going to look at news stories, and you're going to see how news stories craft a narrative that is fake. I don't want to call it fake news. Some of it's actually real news, but the narrative and the emotion that it stimulates is not what you need to be living in. And we're going to start to break that down right now. So as I take a look at Bitcoin, and I'm going to put this full screen because it's easier for you all to see. As I take a look at Bitcoin, the first thing I want you to recognize is right up here at the top, we hit the high of just over 120,000, and we hit it again, and then we hit it again, and then it started selling. Is that a bad thing? No, what that shows us is it shows us that we have gotten to a place in the price action that we refer to as resistance. And what happens with resistance is this is the place where the sellers start to show up. Now, it's a natural thing. It's a natural thing. I'm going to say something that's a little bit controversial, especially to the world of crypto. If you buy a cryptocurrency and think that it's just going to go up, not only are you naive, but you're looking for a bubble. You're looking for something that's not sustainable. You're looking for something that's not healthy. If you think that you can buy a cryptocurrency, whether it be Bitcoin, whether it be XRP or anything else, and it's just going to go straight up, you've actually bought into a narrative that is not real. And it's unhealthy to buy into that because it sets unhealthy expectations. So when we look at Bitcoin, the question everybody's asking, it's all over the news now, is Bitcoin crashing? We dropped back below 100,000. Well, is that really a big deal? And what I'm going to show you, hopefully you can see this on the screen. I don't know how well it's going to translate for y'all. Hold on, I got to do something here so I can make it a little bit bigger. There we go. If you can see this on the screen, you're going to notice with these little red and green things, these are called candlesticks, by the way. You're going to notice that, there we go. You see these, we call these candlestick shadows. And the way a candlestick is drawn, looks like this. That lower part right there is called a shadow. When you start to see that, that's not a bad thing. That's actually buyers showing up. And what that creates is it creates demand. Okay, so when I look at crypto right now, when I look at specifically at Bitcoin and I look at where this buying behavior is showing up, I look to the left and I'm like, that's the same place that happened before. And that's the same place that happened before. And if I wanted to, which I'm going to do right now, I could actually draw a line right in there. And I could say, wait, that's not a bad thing any more than up here at the top was not a bad thing or a good thing. It's just it is. It's just information. And what you're going to notice, I'm going to draw a couple more lines in here. It might start to look a little bit messy until you learn what all these lines are. But when you look at it from that perspective right there, what you might start to realize is actually where we are with Bitcoin right now is one of the healthiest spots. We're at what we call support. This is where the buying pressure starts to build up. And if you look straight below here, this is a technical indicator called your stochastic. And we're back down very close to the place where we say we're what we call oversold. I actually believe right now we're getting very close in crypto across the board. I think we're getting very, very close to the place where we're going to start to see all of this turn and the next wave of buying pressure beginning. So I'm very bullish in both the intermediate and definitely in the long term, but in the intermediate term, I think that this is actually very, very healthy. So there's other things I want to say about this chart. I don't want to spend too long on it here, but I will say this pattern right here, that's not bad. You hear the media, you hear people say, oh, it's down, we were 125,000, now we're down 100,000, it's horrible. Is it? No, this is actually a pattern that we call a consolidation pattern. And if you look at the history of really any asset, but if you look at the history of Bitcoin, you'll notice after every big surge, I'm going to put a lot of it on here. After every big surge, you have, oops, that's the wrong button. There, that's the right button. You have one of these consolidation periods, and they look scary. They feel scary, but they're actually not. It's healthy. It's very, very healthy. And these consolidation periods are the very thing that must happen in the market in order for that momentum to build so that it can take off to the next level. So if you're looking and you're saying, well, I want to see $150,000 Bitcoin. I want to see 200,000 Bitcoin. If you want to get there, you have to go through these periods. what we're going through is not bad at all. It's actually incredibly healthy. Okay, so that's my update on Bitcoin right now. I'm not freaked out about it. I actually think we're starting to build a support, and I'm pretty optimistic with it. I'm going to go through, I got about 6 cryptos that I look at every week in our profit picks at Trade Maestro. We look at these every Sunday night. I'm going to go through each of these, maybe not every day, but I'm going to go through them right now, and I'll share them with you. And this is kind of our core basket. And the way I came up with this basket, this is a basket that President Trump talked about that the U.S. Treasury was investing in. So I figure if the U.S. Treasury is investing in them, then they probably know a little bit about the future that maybe we didn't know. And that helped me narrow down a lot of the cryptos that I wanted to look at. There's others that I'm really excited about. Just because I'm going to look at 6 doesn't mean I'm saying another one's bad. I'm just going to be looking at these 6, at least for the near future here, and then we'll expand our basket from there. So the next one I want to look at is Cardano. And based on what you just learned, this is ADA, Cardano's the crypto. Based on what you just learned, you can see that, oh, we're in the same situation. We're building a support. We're right back at that support level, 1, 2, 3. And look at our stochastic. We're very, very oversold. The buyers have, or the sellers have driven the price down. The buyers are starting to show up again. We're back into a healthy location for Cardano. This is a good project, and it's a cheap coin. It's at 52 cents. It's a good deal. It's a good price right now. Taking a look over at Ethereum. Now, Ethereum's gone through a bigger consolidation. Ethereum is another project that obviously, if you know anything about crypto you're very aware of it at this point. This is a little bit different of a consolidation. It's a descending channel, and it dropped substantially this week, but look at where it dropped to. If you look back in history, like, wait, that is a buying location. We call this a pivot point. I'll teach these more in some of our core lessons coming up. But if I were to snap a line in here, you're going to see that, wow, that doesn't actually look that scary. It's a location where a lot of buyers show up. And if they don't show up right now at 3,200, this is the next one right here. This is where they're going to start to show up. We're getting very oversold, and you're going to start to see the buying pressure come back in for Ethereum. Now, I want to talk about XRP and XLM. Actually, I'm going to come to those last. Solana. Let's come back to Solana. We'll start with Solana. We'll come back to the others. Solana is a project I believe very, very much in, SOL. And we'll talk a lot more about it. I've got some news stories on it today, but I want to just show you on the chart. This is the same pattern that we're seeing on Bitcoin. We are very oversold, starting to make the turn here. We're seeing long lower shadows on our candlestick in known buying locations. We're back at support. This is a good sign. This is exactly what you want. Okay, now let's come up to XLM. I'm going to hit XLM very, very quickly because I have other stuff we're going to talk about on that tonight or today. Again, coming back into support, getting very oversold. Same thing with XRP. XRP, this is a very widely held crypto with a lot of misinformation about it. I'm a fan. I'm a big fan, but no, my forecasts are not as high as a lot of people. But take a look at all this support in here on XRP. This is a remarkable period of support at 210. And look exactly where we're building support right now, right at 210. Okay, now most people look at this, and because they have a very narrow view, they're thinking, oh, this thing is just going down. This thing's just tanking. But it's not tanking. What it's doing is it's correcting. It's getting itself set up so that it can go to the next level. And I think there's a possibility you'll be able to pick some up for less than $2. But as I zoom out on this chart, you can see that is where the primary support is for XRP. And it's solid. I mean, it is a very solid support. Now, where I'll start to get a little bit worried about XRP is if we start seeing it drop below that price point. If we start seeing it drop below this, we call it a pivot area. And, you know, if we get some big red candles and it's doing this 2 or 3 days, I'll be like, yeah, there's something else going on. But as far as where we are right now, I'm actually pretty optimistic that we're coming into the support level on that. All right. So that is my market update. That gives you a big picture overview. If I could sum that into just kind of something you can stick on a bumper sticker. Jeremy is optimistic about XRP. He's optimistic about Bitcoin. He's optimistic about Ethereum. He's optimistic about all of them. Now, what I didn't answer the question is, should you buy it right now? I didn't answer that question because we haven't talked about analysis, and this is not a show where I'm going to sit here and say, go buy these coins. I'm not sitting here shilling meme coins or out here saying, you got to go buy this. That's not what I'm about. I've always been about education. I feel like if I can teach people to fish, or in this case, if I can teach people to trade, then I've given them a skill that they can use for their life. If I just hand out stuff, then what it creates is more victims. And whether you realize that or not, you think about how most people approach it. They say, what stock should I buy right now? What crypto should I buy right now? And what they're really looking for is an answer. They don't want to work for it. They just want the answer. So then I say, okay, you go buy Solana, go buy XRP, whatever. And then what happens when it goes down? They say, well, Jeremy told me to do it. No responsibility. Okay, so if I can teach you guys what to look at, and if I can teach you how to think about it, then you can make a more educated decision on your own. You'll know when to jump in. You'll know when to get out. And by the way, I got out of all these, most of these. Okay, now we're starting to get back into them. But when we peaked just a few weeks ago, I started taking profits out, and that's the way I teach people to trade. Teach people to take the profits at the top, jump back in at the bottom. That's the correct way to approach it. All right, let's move on. Let's get into some of our stories because I talked a lot in our opening discussion here. I want to move into a couple of the headlines. And one of the things that I said just a moment ago is I said that the news stories, they craft a narrative, but that narrative may or may not be true. And if you hang around me very long, you're going to realize that this is a narrative that I personally craft, and I've been crafting it for 16 years, which is don't pay attention to the news. So what are we going to do every day? We're going to look at the news. Why? Because I want you to see, you got to learn how to decipher. You got to learn how to decode, is the news story I'm looking at newsworthy, or is it simply a distraction? Is it taking us in a different direction? So first story that we are going to pull up is an advertisement from Shriners. Economic Times. You just got to love all these web ads. You just can't do anything anymore without getting bombarded. Bitcoin price crashes hard today. This is from late last night, around midnight. Bitcoin price crashes hard today as panic selling grips the crypto markets. Why is Bitcoin falling sharply? Experts see Bitcoin price prediction at 92,000 next. Whew. I just feel anxiety reading that headline. And I'm sure you guys do too. But here's my question for you. My question is, when we just got done with our analysis looking at Bitcoin, does that look terrifying to you? No, it's not terrifying. It's actually right where it needs to be. It's the furthest thing in the world from terrifying. I look at this and I say, that's healthy. The news media looks at it and says, it's terrifying. The next price could be 92,000. Guess what? The next price could be 92,000. That in and of itself is not a big deal. You say, why not? It's huge. That could go down 8,000 more points. 8,000 points, 8%. 8%. You realize that the only reason it sounds big is because Bitcoin's $100,000. If Bitcoin was $10 and it went down from 10 to 8, you wouldn't be freaking out. If it went from 10 to 9, that's really what it would be. You would not be freaking out. You'd say, that's normal. And I'm telling you right now that this picture that you see on Bitcoin is normal. This picture on Bitcoin is completely normal. So what is this headline? It's fear. That's all it is. So be careful when you see headlines like this. I'm not saying you don't pay attention. I'm saying that you be aware and you learn to think through them. You look at this, you say Bitcoin crashes hard as panic grips the crypto market again. And you start reading this and say, what does it stir in me? If it stirs fear, you're not going to make good educated decisions based on fear. You got to make educated decisions based on what you're seeing and what you're learning. Okay, let's look at another headline here. Trump says he wants the U.S. to be a Bitcoin superpower, cites competition from China. Interesting, right? So is this a good or is it a bad headline? Well, this is actually a headline that's informing us of policy. And as you start to dig into it and you start to read and you start to understand the president's position on this, you realize that what he's saying is, hey, crypto's here to stay. This is not a fear-mongering headline. This is a headline that's actually giving us an insight that this is confidence building. There's a pathway forward. And if you read the article, you'll discover that he talks about how previous administrations, they put the chokehold on crypto. And now this administration is trying to open it up. So there's a great article from Coinbase. You can check that, or CoinDesk, you can check that out. Another one, Stellar faces renewed selling pressure as XLM reverses from key resistance. What? That sounds scary. Read the subtext. Stellar slid 2.2%. Ooh. Amid heavy selling. 28.15 resistance. All right, that's why I said I was going to look at Stellar in just a minute. Take a look over here at XLM. Based on what you've learned, is this one scary? No. No, it's not scary. Stellar, this is a daily chart, by the way. They're the way so many crypto people talk about this, they'll zoom in and they might even go down to like a 5-minute chart. I'll do that for you right here. And they look at this, like, oh, it's scary. We came down from 28.15. That's, no, guys. Like we're zooming in so close that it becomes fear. Okay, zoom out. This is a daily chart again. Zoom out. Where are we? You can look at this picture and you can see clearly XLM is coming down into its support level. This is a new buying opportunity. As we come down into support, as we get down in here and we start to make that turn, it's a new buying opportunity, not a panic opportunity. And failure to recognize that will lead people to make poor trading decisions. All right. The last one I want to talk about is predictions for Solana. Okay, Solana will be worth more than XRP by 2030. What do you make of a headline like that? There's a lot of ways people could take it. Some people look at it and they think, now we got some chick talking at us. Some people look at that and they think that, oh, that's bad for Solana, or that's bad for XRP. It's not bad for XRP. It is telling you that there's an argument to be made that Solana is maybe better than people realize. And if you dig into it, you realize how inexpensive Solana is, sitting at $160. It's actually quite inexpensive right now. Now take a look here. I got a new drawing pen. My key commands are really messing me up. I keep hitting the wrong ones. Take a look at the key points here. Solana's ecosystem has more potential use case than XRP. That's interesting. I'm actually going to agree with that too. XRP has a very defined use case within cross-border payments, whereas Solana has a much broader use case of multiple crypto projects. What Solana's done is they're building the competitor to Ethereum. Now, I'm not saying Ethereum is going away. I'm just saying that Ethereum is a fairly old network. I mean, it's actually remarkably old. It's a really slow and it's an expensive network. Whereas Solana can scale all the stuff that's been happening on Ethereum. It can scale it so much faster and so much more efficiently and so much cheaper. That's why Solana is getting so much market share here. And as you fast forward in this community of crypto moving forward, what you're going to start to see is you're going to start to see the adoption picking up even faster. Unlike Solana, XRP does not pay a staking yield. So here's a benefit of Solana. It pays a staking yield. XRP doesn't do that. The growth of stable coins and real-world asset tokenization could be good for Solana and XRP. So here's the argument that both of these are really healthy. Okay. And if you read the article, what you'll find is actually it's pretty pro for both of them. Both of them are really good projects, and I personally believe in both of them as well. Anyway, those are a couple of headlines that are happening right now. You can find that one on Yahoo Finance, and I hope that was helpful for you. What are your thoughts? You think that XRP could get overshadowed by Solana? Do you think that, I don't know, what are your thoughts on all this? Give me some comments here because, you know, your feedback matters. I'm going to read some comments here. I'm going to be looking down off the screen, but it's the only way I can see the commentary in here. Yes, I realized that the introduction started and stopped and we changed streams because it got messed up. And I don't actually know what caused it, but I'm sorry about that. I'm glad you're here now. Rumbleshire says, what will happen with our traditional stock accounts? Will the trading exchanges transfer over to crypto? That's a great question. That is a great question. And if my eCam was working the right way, I would have been able to share that question on the screen. But you guys can see it there in the chat. What will happen with your traditional stock trading accounts? I don't know yet. I can tell you there's a lot of blockchains that are working hard to create a bridge. And what I think will actually happen is I think the future of trading as a whole is going to become more and more decentralized. That's what I'd like to see happen. I think it's healthy for all of us. The free markets, in my opinion, need as little interaction from the governments as possible. So that's what I would like to see happen. Now, is it going to happen next week? Absolutely not. But will it happen over the next 20 to 30 years? I think the answer is yes. So one of the epiphanies I had, I'll give you a little bit of history here. If you were to go look at the NASDAQ in 1972, guess what people were saying about the NASDAQ? It's a fluke. It's not legit. There's no substance to it. There's nothing real about it. The same stuff that they're saying about crypto today. Well, if you don't know the history, what the NASDAQ is, NASDAQ was the first electronic stock trading exchange. And so up until then, When you looked at the other stock exchanges, everything was what we call an open outcry. It was a actual auction system, and you had the market makers that were crying out your bid and your ask and saying, who's going to buy this? Who's going to buy this? I got this. They're quoting real time, just like you see in the old movies where they're standing on the steps and they're auctioning off shares. That's how the market operated until the NASDAQ shows up. And in the 1970s, the early 1970s, when NASDAQ showed up, nobody took it serious. The only people that took it serious were a few tech companies that said, oh, that's a way we can get listed and we can do some public exchanges and we can, raise some capital for our business. And so you saw the NASDAQ got a huge market share of tech companies in the 70s. Well, fast forward 20 years, by the end of the 1980s, NASDAQ was becoming a major player. Still, you had these two markets going side by side. NASDAQ was all electronic. All the market makers were electronic. New York Stock Exchange right next to it. Everything was traditional. And it carried on like that in two parallel markets until COVID. It wasn't until 2020 that the New York Stock Exchange completely switched over to electronic market makers. Now, you look at that history, like it's like a 50-year time span to make that transition. I think right now, cryptocurrency as a market, the crypto exchanges as a market, is actually about where NASDAQ was in the late 70s. It started to get really, really serious. I think it's moving faster than NASDAQ did, but people are starting to take it really serious. We're starting to see ETFs issued on multiple cryptos now. We got it on Solana, obviously Bitcoin. We've had that for a long time. But Solana just issued ETFs, and they're doing XRP ETFs now. So what that's doing is that's actually taking blockchain and putting it back on a traditional market. What we're going to start to see is the opposite. We're going to start to see where stock is getting put on blockchain, is being brought on chain, and you'll start to be able to trade that without going through a traditional market. And as that happens over a multi-year period of time, you'll see a transition. So I hope that answer made sense for you, and I think it's a great question. Temple says, please elaborate on taking out the profits. I was told to buy XRP and hold. Of course you were. You only make money when you sell. You only make money when you sell. You don't make money by hodling. HODL, hold on for dear life. There's a reason that crypto people want you to buy and hold and never sell. And I get it. I mean, if I'm looking at my coin that I created, the trade coin, that's what it's called. It's not publicly available yet, but it's ticker symbol TRDE. It's Trade Maestro coin. If I look at my coin and I think, how do I raise the value of this? The best way is to build an army of people to buy it and to hold it and never sell it, because it creates demand. And the more people that are holding and never selling, the higher the value can go. Here's the problem. You can't control the world. You can't control the free market. What you can control is when you recognize that you've got a big profit in your trade, you can turn around and take your profit. So I've been taking profits on XLM for years. I mean, almost every one of these major swings, I've both ridden them up and taken profits at the top. I bought my first XLM, as I said, in 2017. Okay, so you go back then, my first pricing, I think, was around 20 cents, maybe 22 cents. That's when I started buying XRP. And I've made many, many round trips. And I'll say this, I've said this often. I can't say this about stock, but I can say about crypto. I've never lost money on crypto. Okay, I've had some trades that didn't do as much as I wanted, but I've never actually lost money on crypto. But I know a lot of people who buy crypto, and because they're always holding it forever, and they think that if I just hold on to this, eventually it's going to go up, they end up holding through huge bear markets. And I got a lot of friends. In fact, I got one that I'm going to bring on as a guest in a future series. He bought XRP when it was, pretty high 2 or 3, 4 years ago, was holding on this whole time. He's looking at 70% drawdown for years. That's devastating. Like, that's just emotionally devastating. So when you ask the question, talk about taking profit. If you look at this chart on XRP, we can tell where the sellers are going to show up. If I would get my right key commands, we can tell where the sellers are going to show up because we start to see the price behavior. We start to see our resistance getting built in here. So when I get up here and I can look to the left and I can say, this is the last time we were here, we started selling at $3.40. I know there's a good chance we're going to see selling pressure at $3.40 again. Now I have other tools as well. But I can tell you, just based on looking to the left and seeing where the price points are, that alone is going to give you a good idea of where is the price action moving for this trade. And so when we're back at the bottom, like we are now, when it starts to make the turn, we start to buy. And then whenever we get up to the top and you start to see it slowing down, this is where we sell. Now, what happens when you're selling up here and the price starts to fall? You have a bunch of people that hit social media and they're all pissed off and they say, I can't believe you people are selling. Who's selling right now? And I'll tell you who's selling. The people who are making the money. The people who are making the money are the ones who are selling. The people who are sitting here riding the waves and riding the emotions of crypto, those are the ones that are hodling. So you can decide, do you want to be an emotional crypto holder or do you want to be logical about it and say, you know what? There's my sell signal. I'm going to get out and take my profit. If you buy down here at 240 and you sell at 340, it's a heck of a profit. I mean, $1 per share, or excuse me, $1 per coin on something that only costs $2.40. It's almost a 50% profit in what, 3 or 4 weeks? I mean, that's options trading level ROI using something that's not got the downfall or the shortcomings of options. So it's penny stock level ROI without having the stigma of penny stocks, and there is manipulation, but not like we have with penny stocks. So, you decide, Temple. And by the way, it's a great question. It's one of the things I really want to dig into, how we decide, when to buy and when to sell. So if that's something you guys want to see more of, let me know. I'll put together one of my teaching segments specifically on when to buy and when to sell. Okay. Any other questions? I don't see any in here. Unfortunately, I don't have YouTube questions in front of me. I messed up. I didn't really mess up. It's just that the technology didn't do what I told it to do. So those of you over on YouTube, if you got any questions, type them in there. I'll come back and check it. I don't see anything over there. I'll get this stuff all smoothed out. All right, what I want to talk about now is I want to share with you the number one mistake that crypto ventures, it's not the right word, people that are venturing into crypto make with their crypto trading and their cryptocurrency. And I think this would be a great way for us to wrap up the show today. It's kind of your core immersion of an idea. And here is the number one mistake I see people doing, especially older people that have heard this term cryptocurrency. People are like, I know I got to get into it. It's something new, but I don't know what it is. The number one mistake that they make, thinking of crypto as a replacement for currency. Now, mind blown, right? What? The biggest challenge that crypto has, in my opinion, is the word currency. Because what the word currency does is it implies a different meaning than the broader opportunity of crypto. It implies it's money. And I'm not saying it's not money. In fact, most of the arguments we've heard about Bitcoin is it's a better form of money than cash. It's a better form of money than gold. That's the Michael Saylor argument, right? And there is definitely an argument to be made that because of the limited supply, Bitcoin has monetary value. But the term cryptocurrency is not an accurate term for what we're actually trading. When you think about cryptocurrency, you have to realize this is a very limited view. It suggests that there should only be one. It brings all these limitations with it. Well, how do we know that Bitcoin's going to win, or XRP is going to win, or XLM is going to win? Stop. That is an unhealthy way of thinking about it. But it's the natural evolution. When we think of the term currency, the natural thought is which one is going to win. And it presents all these logistical problems. And it causes people to dismiss it because the brain only knows how to associate what we can relate to. And so what the brain does is the brain says, well, I don't know that Bitcoin's more interesting than the US dollar. And so 15 years ago, when Bitcoin came out, people are looking at that, and since they heard the word currency, their brain said, digital Bitcoin, could that be worth more than the dollar? No. And they dismissed it. And here we are 15 years later, and you've got an entire generation of people that are saying, gee, I missed the boat. If only I could get on the boat. Now the new wave is XRP. Actually, it's not new anymore. But, around 2019, 2020, XRP became the new one. Everybody's like, you got to get into XRP. It's the one. It's the one. Is it the one? No, it's not the one, because there isn't a the one. That's the misnomer. The misnomer is that if I can just find the one, all these other thousands of cryptocurrencies are going to disappear. And that's the problem. That's the fallacy. That's what this word currency leads people to think, is that the crypto itself is the money. Now, I'm not saying it can't be, but I'm saying that's not the point. That's a very narrow view. And so what's going to happen is you're going to continue, if that's the way you think about it, you will continue to see projects. You'll go from project to project and miss the boat. People go from Bitcoin to XRP. Now people are going over the Texit coin, which is an amazing project, an amazing opportunity. Is it the one? There's not a the one. Think about it this way. If you were to go back to 1996 and you were to log into America Online, this is about what it looked like back then on Windows 95. Okay, you guys all remember that? I was in college then. And, when we went to the internet, if you were to interact with America Online and ask yourself, what will the future of the internet be? It was kind of not that exciting. You would think it's primarily about news. You would think that somebody's out there pushing out news stories or pushing out articles. You would think that America Online is always going to win because they were huge. Do you guys realize America Online basically imploded? I mean, this company established the internet in the United States. In terms of pop culture, we did not have happening what America Online did. They established it, and they're mostly gone. But in 1995, 1996, you would have said America Online, they're going to own this. This is the future utility. You would have thought Netscape was the best browser. You would have thought web crawler was the best search engine. You would have thought dial-up was the fastest connection, and you would have missed the entire boat of what was about to happen with the internet. Now, here we are 20 years later, you can look back, 30 years later, you can look back and you can say, oh, this is what actually happened. Wow, America Online was just the beginning. It wasn't the thing, it was just the beginning. If crypto was only currency, we're asking the question, which one's better? If crypto's only currency, we're asking the question, which one's going to be the national currency? What happens to our US dollars? What happens to our Canadian dollars or our Mexican pesos? If crypto is only currency, there can only be one winner. And you say, well, it's digital. There can only be one. One can't win, and there's not even any substance to it. There's no way this works. That's because it's a limited view. It's a limited view. And if you think about crypto as a currency only, you're selling yourself short. So how do we think of it? We have to ask ourselves the bigger question, what did it solve? What does the technology solve? Because cryptocurrency is not about the currency, it's about the technology. I'll say it again. Cryptocurrency is not about the currency, it's about the technology. And so when we think about what problems can it solve, Bitcoin is it saved money because it proved the viability of blockchain, and it proved that you can do this with a scarcity and create value, and we can transfer it between two people. Bitcoin changed the world, and people don't even realize why it was such a big deal. It wasn't just the currency aspect. It was the fact that we can now do this in a secure blockchain without a central party. A central third party. Changed everything. And while the world was changing, most people are looking at it like, that's not going to go anywhere. Because they just didn't see the future yet. And then along came Ethereum. And the early arguments of crypto were Ethereum and Bitcoin can't both win. You got Litecoin, you got all these other startup coins, XRP. They can't all win. So people started dismissing them. In the same way that they dismissed early newcomers to the internet. Ethereum proved something, though. Ethereum proved smart contracts. Ethereum proved smart contracts. And if you don't understand what that means, just think about your day-to-day life. What is a contract? A contract is an agreement between two people. And so if I make an agreement with Bob and Bob makes an agreement with me, we might have a third party intermediary called an attorney or something, somebody that's in the middle. Maybe if you're doing a closing for a house, what do? You have to go to the closing office, and there's attorneys present and real estate agents and all these different people that are helping to facilitate that Bob and I are going to make the agreement with each other. Ethereum proved that we can do that without the attorneys. We can do it with a smart contract, an electronic contract, and we can do it between two people. And the contract itself will guarantee that Bob and I do for each other what we promised we would do. Whoa! This is why I say, because of smart contracts, this is why I say we actually don't need regulators anymore. This technology, when I finally understood the smart contract piece of crypto, I understood that, whoa, every piece of our financial system, our entire government, if we could ever get the people out of the way, we could actually replace the government with a blockchain government and smart contracts, and it would be 100 million times more efficient. Can we get society to agree to that? I don't know, but that would be pretty cool. But that's what Ethereum proved. So when you look at Ethereum, it's not just that, oh, Ethereum's a great cryptocurrency. It's a project. It's a technology that you're buying. When we look at Ripple or XRP, what XRP proved is it solved a cross-border payment problem. It created new technology. When you look at Chainlink, what did it solve? It solved real-world connection. Who was it? Rumbleshire asked earlier, what's going to happen with our stocks? Chainlink is the answer. What Chainlink does is it makes a connection between the real 3D world and this digital blockchain world, and it integrates these technologies so they talk. And then you look at it and you say, well, what am I buying? The next one I had on here was Solana. Solana is basically a newer version of smart contracts. So when you look at it and you say, what am I buying? When you buy Solana tokens, you're buying the actual technology. Think about it like if you go back to the 1860s, when the United States was changing so much because of the Industrial Revolution, and we had to lay railroads everywhere. Cornelius Vanderbilt. I live in Nashville. We got a university, Vanderbilt University is named after Cornelius Vanderbilt. He made his first fortune in transportation with steamships. But during the Civil War, he saw the transition. He saw the transition, and he made the transition from steamship transportation to railroad transportation. And he wanted to own all the railroads. And that's what he did. When you buy Bitcoin, you're buying the beginning idea. There's only 21 million of them. That's why they call it digital gold. But functionally, Bitcoin, all it really did was prove the viability. That's the actual function. Ethereum had a use case, a much better use case. These smart contracts. When you buy Ethereum, you're buying the train tracks. You're buying the infrastructure. When you buy Ripple, you're buying the infrastructure of cross-border payments. When you buy Chainlink, you're buying the infrastructure. And now when you buy Solana, and I put that on there because it's kind of how the next iteration of technology is going. When you buy into Solana, what are you buying? You're buying the technology. It's very different than a stock. When you buy stock, you're buying equity, ownership in a company. When you buy Solana, you're buying the very tokens that the train has to run on, if you can follow the metaphor. You're buying the physical, it's digital, but the physical technology. You say, well, how does that have any monetary value? Here's how it has monetary value. If you own all the steel and we need to build some more railroads, where are they going to go? They're going to go to you. And the more people that buy up steel, the higher the price goes. And the same happens with the digital asset. If we need more Ethereum, if we need more XRP, if we need more Solana, what's going to happen? They're going to go in the open market and they're going to buy it. And if you're holding some of it, you say, I'm owning a digital asset that goes up in value because there's demand for it. It's not about the currency. It's about what problem does it solve? So if you can think about crypto this way, this is my first lesson for today. Crypto is a technology. Crypto is about technology. It's not about the currency. It's about innovation. Currency is one application. And there are many crypto projects that can make the claim of currency. Bitcoin actually is not a good currency. It's too slow. It takes forever. From a currency standpoint, Solana is much better. But now you look at this new Texit. That's a pretty cool currency alternative. There's several. XRP actually is a pretty fast network. It could be a currency. XLM is a really fast network. It could be a currency. Or you actually probably won't have any of them. I would actually place the bet right now. You won't have any of them become a new national currency. They are all behind the scenes infrastructure that will support what the new decentralized financial system is evolving into. And it's going to be a 20-year transition. But I'll talk later about this. We're in a fourth turning. We're in a season of world history where old institutions are falling away and new institutions are being born. And the new institution for the next 80 to 100 years is decentralized finance. It is cryptocurrency and blockchain. It is this technology right here. So why do you want to buy into it? Not for the currency aspect. You want to buy into it because you're owning the technology. Technology is the key. Currency happened to be the first use case, but technology is the key. And the use cases for crypto are extremely diverse. And that's some of the stuff we're going to be talking about in this live stream series that we're doing, Building Blockchains. All right. So give me some feedback. Did that help some of you guys with your thinking on how to approach crypto, how to think about it, the mindset of it? If you'll get out of your head, I got to go find the right currency. It's not what we're doing. We're not trying to find the right currency. We're looking at projects. We're looking at opportunities. We're looking at technology. And when you look at it from that lens, you realize this is a lot more like NASDAQ in 1975 relative to the New York Stock Exchange than it is like, I got to find the one winner. And that's why I can say with great confidence, you're not looking for the winner. You're looking for lots of winners. And we've never had such a great opportunity in world history as we have right now with cryptocurrency. Like, this is so incredible. It's like getting in all these technology stocks from the 80s and the 90s. It's like getting in at those places ground floor. Okay. So thank you for being here today. I'm going to try to keep these down to an hour. If you got any last minute questions, feel free to share. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate that. I wish I could share your comment, but it didn't show up for me to share in my little hosting platform. So I got to work on that. Tomorrow I will be back 1 o'clock Central Time, 2 o'clock Eastern Time. If you're in the mountains, it'll be noon. 11 o'clock on the West Coast. I will be back. And tomorrow I'm going to go a little bit deeper. I'm going to talk a little bit about what is blockchain itself. Like, where's this name even come from? When we talk about blockchain, what is a blockchain? It took me forever to understand this. And once I understood, I was like, that's pretty genius. It's pretty cool. What is mining? Like, when we talk about mining cryptocurrency, mining Bitcoin, what does that mean? It got locked into the ledger. What does that mean? We're going to talk about some of that tomorrow in our next show. All right. Any last minute questions? Type them in there. Temple says, yes, please later. How to do it. She was talking about identifying buying and selling opportunities. She also said, sell and put it into USD wallet. Crypto, Temple, I need more context on that. I see what you're saying. So a little context if you missed it. She had asked a question earlier about elaborating on when to buy and sell and take profits. Her follow-up, sell and put it into a USD wallet, ? Yeah. Yes, exactly. You would trade it from a XRP, in that your scenario, XRP, over to a stable coin. Stable coin is a cash equivalent. And then you can move it to you could keep it in an exchange with a custodial wallet of some sort, or you could take it to a non-custodial wallet. You could take it to a cold storage if you wanted to, but you just move from the asset, in this example, XRP, over to a cash equivalent, a stable coin. And then when you're ready to buy back in, you use your USDC or USDT or RLUSD, the new Ripple Labs stable coin, or one of the just bajillion that are coming out. Because of why? Remember that news story I talked about earlier? This one right here? That is the news story right there. You guys don't realize how big this is. Trump's decision to make the U.S. a leader in cryptocurrency. And that Genius Act that they pushed through, it established the US dollar as the standard. Here's why they called it genius. I think this is why they called it genius. Because behind the scenes, what they did is they established two things. Number one, stable coins are tied to the US dollar. That's one of the things they established. So that creates demand for the US dollar. So everybody who's saying the US dollar is going to collapse, well, we just turned the entire future financial system into being based on the US dollar. We literally just said all those stable coins have to be denominated in US dollars. Boom, US dollar now has a reason to live. Second thing that they did in there is they established that those stable coins have to be backed by US dollar treasuries. And they literally opened up a multi-trillion dollar market to buy US treasuries, thereby supporting the US dollar. Everybody who says the US dollar is going to collapse, you got to understand economics a little bit better. I mean, look, I don't want to get too far into it. I'm a libertarian, free market economist all the way. I'm a believer in sound money, but I also see the other side of it. And I understand the benefits. Yes, I said benefits of fiat. There is a benefit to fiat, and there's a benefit to sound money that's backed by gold. And one actually doesn't mean the other's bad, just because you prefer one over the other. There's a benefit to both. Conversations for us to have in future live streams, right? But just to put a button on that thought, what they did with the Genius Act is they propped up the demand for the US dollar, which will stabilize its price. All right, let me see what other questions we got coming in here. Crypto projects, very helpful mindset. Thank you, Rumbleshire. Thank you. All right, folks, you have a wonderful day. I will see you tomorrow if you want to be here. If you don't want to be here, you at least catch the live stream replay. You can catch the recording. And I'll try to get both Rumble and YouTube all in sync tomorrow and try to get our chat comments so we can share them so everybody can see them. Until then, I wish you all the best, and I'll see you tomorrow.